In the words of Nicki Minaj, is this the thanks that I get for putting you bitches on? Is it my fault that all of you bitches gone? because she's made $1 billion with her movie. She's become like the top girl. She's opening doors, y'all. She's trying to get everybody up there.
I mean, it should have been She-Hulk, but
well, that's
All right, guys, welcome back to another
Welcome
Relaunch.
back.
How are you doing today, friend?
I'm good. How are you, Keenan?
I'm doing very well. It's been, we are in what, day 7,000 of election hell?
Oh, Jesus. I'm so ready for them to just give it to Biden so we can finally start to breathe.
Like, I just want to go to sleep. Okay, that's it.
Seriously.
It's just like, that's all I want to do. But luckily, to take your mind off of that, we had quite a bit of comics this week. So I guess let's go ahead and get into that.
Let's do it.
So the first book on my list, Black Widow #3 by Kelly Thompson.
Yeah. I'm in.
This is good. I think back to when this book first started, and I think we even said it around issue 2, is that it reminds us of the movie The Long Kiss Goodnight.
Yes, yeah. With
that is
Gina Davis, right?
Yes.
And Samuel Jackson.
Love them. What a
duo.
Right. And this is exactly what that story gives. Now, with that being said, I think I'm kind of over Natasha a little bit.
Oh.
Yeah. And
okay. In this book, or just the character?
Just the character.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I love Natasha. I'm a huge Black Widow fan. I've read a ton of her books, miniseries. And one of the things that always kind of gets me with Nat is that a lot of her stories are the exact same thing. It's very much someone's blackmailed her, everyone's out to get her, they think she's a villain, blah, 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 blah. She's on the run. And this story was appealing to me because Kelly Thompson was kind of saying, I've seen all of those things as well, and I want this one to be different. And hence we get The Long Kiss Goodnight. But it still just kind of feels a little bit the same, especially as you start to get into the villains who are kind of putting her into this current situation that she is in, where she has no memory. This kid is apparently actually hers, and all of these things that are going on. And it's still just, it's always centralized around someone just wanting revenge on her for some particular reason.
I can see what you mean. I feel like the spy kind of character, you end up always kind of being in that kind of like revenge spy kind of thing. And I feel like though with this, I think that's been kind of elevated, mostly because it has been that long kiss goodnight kind of thing, and it hasn't been the whole she's back in the red room, or someone and someone's trying to like get her or something like that. So I've been enjoying that. It's a familiar story, I should say, but it's not the same story.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is. It's probably just the familiarity of it. It's just I think I'm just ready for someone to really push Nat into a whole different direction. I think back to like Secret Empire, where they kind of teamed her with the champions and she was like training all of the kids. Yeah. I really enjoyed that whole little thing that she was doing. I thought it was something very different. It kind of called back to the Red Room, her being a child soldier, also with the growth that she's had, knowing that these kids are going to fight whatever. So if they're going to do it, they need the proper guidance, and she's going to be the one to do it, being tough, but then also still kind of being caring. I thought that was great. I would have loved to see that continue. But it also, like you said, the spy stories, you're always kind of going to get that ebb and flow of it.
Yeah.
But it's a good book. And I'm enjoying it though. I should say that. Like I really am enjoying it. I think it's very well written. I think Kelly has a decent voice of Nat when she kind of gets into those moments of like remembering a little bit who she is.
Yeah.
And honestly, this was the book of the week because
I know it. I figured you were gonna love that.
Who showed up? With the fantastic Yelena Belova.
Yes,
Black Widow.
Right in the very intro of the book, she appears and she hops in on Hawkeye and Winter Soldier, who are been doing this whole stakeout thing, and they clearly don't get along because Hawkeye is an idiot and Winter Soldier's like, I just want to focus. Yes, and Yelena's like, you both are nowhere near my level, so let me take care of this.
Yeah, and I love how she just like walked up and was just like, I've been here. I've already been doing this. I've been watching Natasha.
I'm not gonna lie. I was genuinely gagged when Hawkeye was like, wait a minute, you were the babysitter. And I was like, oh my gosh, wait. I had to go back to issue 2 to look at it to see that it was like Yelena, like watching her. I didn't even think that anything of it. I thought that was a really cool.
Yeah. I was like, so yeah, I really enjoyed that. And that's why I said, like, it's a really great book from that standpoint. And Yelena, that's my Black Widow right there.
She is dope. I do like her. And the art in this book by Elena Casagrande. Oh my gosh, I love it.
Good. Really good.
I figured that scene when Black Widow was coming back into her own apartment, and she was starting to see people were in her home, and she was worried about her family, and she started beating ass. That was an awesome scene. Was good. When she took the hanger and like sluck it through that guy's like face. That was insane. And the way that it was all like laid out, she fought like a ballerina. I thought that was really dope.
Yeah, the action scenes were really well done in this book, and I'm an action guy, so it's like it was made for me. Yeah, like the panel layouts, it's really well done. Great book, highly recommend it.
For sure, this was definitely a great one.
And I'll definitely be excited to see kind of how it ends and then where Kelly takes Natasha from that, because that honestly, the stuff that I was talking about, kind of wanting something different for Nat, like that could be what brings this about. So
that's kind of okay. So I think, and I'm sure we'll get there. I think that is what Kelly Thompson has been really good at doing, in my opinion, when she has been given these really iconic female Marvel characters like Black Widow and with Captain Marvel. I feel like the first arc is very like, let me show you what I can do with this character and kind of who I see them as. And it gives you a familiar story, and it gives you like a kind of a quick crash course on how they kind of view the character. And then the follow-up arc is usually the one where things start to take off, and something that was planted in like the first arc starts to really, you'll see more of it. So I'm hoping that with this one, there's probably some stuff in here that I didn't even pay attention to that will obviously circle back around like in the next arc or so. And that will be kind of where she takes and pushes Black Widow. Because I'm sure she, like you said, she said she's bored with the same old shit too. So I'm sure she wants to give it a new story.
Exactly. So yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
Ooh. All right. So next on my list, I did not read this book, unfortunately, but I know you did. It is Captain Marvel.
Ooh, I did. Captain Marvel 23. Also written by Kelly Thompson with art by Lee Garbey. And this was another great issue. She's really killing it with Captain Marvel. It's a little bit of I would say more of a information issue than a big action beat thing. You find out more about this future that everyone has been in. Kind of like I said before, this future is the same one that Captain Marvel: The End takes place in, where Captain Marvel, I think in 2051, she comes back to Earth. It's been ravaged by something, and the sun isn't working. She basically blows herself up and restarts the sun. Yeah, she gives her powers and gives herself to the sun and restarts it, and then Earth can do a little better than what it was before. And then our quote unquote Captain Marvel from the current time ends up being sent to 2052. And of course, people were like, what is going on? Like, who are you? Right. So this book, you find out a lot more about what really happened on this Earth. It was a little vague. I will say that it probably was vague on purpose because it probably really doesn't matter. But there was something that happened where there was some crazy war that went down on Earth. And of course, the heroes, like they always do, come together, but not everybody survived. And between that war and then another war that happened with the same like alien people that came to Earth, these children, like a lot of people started to have children. You start to meet these younger kind of kids of the superheroes that we know. So Danny Cage, you know, she's around.
She keeps popping up. They just need to go ahead and age her up in the main universe because they want to use her so bad.
Definitely, yeah. She has strength and vulnerability and can fly, so she's around. Jerry Drew, he goes by the Spider. You know, yeah, he's grown up now with a beard. They even have Irene LeBeau, who is she goes by Rogue, and she is the daughter of Rogue and Gambit. You get Sora the Wolf, and she is the daughter of Conan and Forge.
Do all of these characters, all these kids, like have both of their parents' powers?
Yes.
I kind of hate when that. I don't know why, but like, I just don't ever buy it. So like, I'll say I think it's been done well with like a character, alternate reality character like Ruby Summers, who had the red diamond hard skin, the ruby quartz skin. Like I thought that was a creative way to give her both Cyclops and Emma's powers. But when the kids just have both the parents' powers, I think that is so it's like, why? They can have their own individual thing. It's just like they do not have to be a combo.
Yeah. It would be better if they could, you know, diversify them a little bit, but it's probably just easier just to give them what their parents got. That makes sense. So yeah, you meet all of the kids of these heroes that we know, and you know, you're starting to get a little worried for Emma. Emma Frost is around too, because she can't leave her diamond form. She is talking about like,
okay. I'm cutting you off. I think Biden just became our next president because everybody is going off. I hear people screaming and yelling. My phone is like going off. Yeah.
Yes, to democracy.
Democracy.
Well, all right. In the middle of talking about Emma Frost,
Emma Frost.
Bring on the democracy. All right. Yes.
Wow. All right. This is what a good weekend this is.
Let's celebrate that. Yes.
Okay.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, yeah. Emma finds out, you know, shout out to voting. Emma finds out that she can't leave her diamond form. Sorry, not Emma. Carol finds out that Emma won't leave her diamond form. And she asks her, like, you know, what's going on? Why can't you leave your diamond form? Emma is like, oh, well, it's the radiation that's around. Like, it protects me. And Carol's like, well, that don't make sense because there are other people here who don't have that and they're fine. And Emma is like, don't ask me about it anymore. Like, just drop it. I don't want to talk about it. So something is going on with Emma, which it'll be interesting to see what kind of develops there. You also meet Bridget, who is the daughter of Thor. They haven't said who her mother is or like how she came to be or anything like that. But she's in the book. She has a really cool design. And
have they given any like hints to who her mom might be?
No, they haven't. They have mentioned that she has been able to pick up Mjolnir though. So, but she says like it won't listen to her, like she can't recall it. So I don't know what's going on there. And the villain of this is definitely the son of Namor, but they won't say who his mother is. And his name is Ove. He has a really cool design, and he has given them a parlay to come to meet with him. And that's kind of where the book kind of ends. So in the next issue, we'll really find out what's going on with Ove and all that kind of mess.
Do you hope Ove's mom is Invisible Woman?
I didn't even think about that one, but no, I don't. No. No. I actually think if I had to guess, I think either his mom is magic or he is controlling magic.
Okay.
Because previously in the last issue, they were fighting some monsters, and Carol was like, these are monsters from Limbo. Who, because she's been to Limbo before. She was back there with the New Mutants and stuff. And Emma also confirmed it. She was like, yeah, these are monsters from Limbo. And Carol was like, so does that mean? And Emma's like, we're not sure. So we don't know what's going on. So not sure what's going on there. Either A, that is the mom, or she has Emma magic has lost her magic. and he has the soul sword and is able to summon demons from Limbo or something like that. So hopefully that mystery is coming up soon. Say it again.
I said that's an interesting little pair if it was to happen.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know how I feel about it because I still feel like magic is young.
I was about to say it's a little creepy.
It's very creepy. it's very, very creepy.
It's definitely very creepy. But those two personalities together.
Yeah. So we'll see. I've been enjoying this. Kelly's been killing it on Captain Marvel, so I definitely recommend it.
Okay.
I do miss Carmen Canero on art, but I think that's just because I really like her.
Yeah, Carmen's dope.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Okay. All right, moving on to the next issue is Guardians of the Galaxy #8 by Al Ewing and Marcel Takar. Now, first of all, again, Marcel Takar is my favorite comic book artist ever. So it's like, boom.
I can see why.
Like, boom.
I can definitely see why.
Great art. Love him. Fantastic. Expressive. Tells a story well. Clear. The coloring from Federico Blee was really good.
Yep.
Then Al Ewing comes in with just like fantastic writing. This is basically just a big like. It's I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else.
This series has been pretty damn good. I can't even deny it. Yeah, seriously. This opens with Rocket kind of breaking down what's been going on and how Marvel Boy's been accused of killing one of the people who came for this meeting of all the different factions of the galaxy.
Yeah, the Peace Summit.
Yeah. And I love the fact that sometimes in comics there's always a question of, well, why didn't they just do this when someone's around and they have powers to do something?
Yeah.
And I appreciated that there are 2 or 3 telepaths in the room, very powerful telepaths in the room. And of course, there was the question of, well, why don't we just read minds and figure out who did it?
And like somebody was like, no, that's unethical. But then the other telepath was like, no, we're going to do this.
We're going to do this. I love that. That's why I love space, and the politics that go on in space and people being able to use their abilities and everything.
So it's so different.
Than what people are doing on Earth. So I've been loving this.
Yeah, this was really, really good. I really love seeing Rocket as the kind of detective aspect. I haven't read too many Rocket stories. So a lot of the times when I see him, he is just kind of that loudmouth raccoon from the movies that we see. But here, like, you remember that he's like a smart guy and he knows what he's doing. And that was
exactly. Cool. It was really cool to see him more in that kind of like detective role and see him do more than just be the wise talking quippy raccoon. I think that was really cool. I also love the distinction between the Shi'ar representative, Oracle 2, who would like really make sure to let you guys know she's Oracle 2 and not the Oracle that we know probably.
Right.
And Moondragon. Wow.
Yeah, I'm really loving this like mixed Moondragon character.
Yeah, I wonder what they're going to really do with that. I really want to see more of how it's going to affect her relationship with Phila and how Phila feels about it all,
Yeah, because there was even something that Moondragon had said in there, like she called it psychic warfare. Yeah, and Phila was just like, you've never referenced it like that. Like, who am I talking to right now? Who are you? So that's about to be bad.
I also didn't know that Star-Lord had a sister. I didn't read his solo series, and I guess the Spartax representative, she is the daughter of Jason, who is Star-Lord's dad too.
Star-Lord's dad.
Yeah.
I can't
I didn't
do
know
much about Star-Lord outside of he was married to Kitty Pryde.
Yeah.
Or he was about to get married to Kitty Pryde, which I actually kind of like that relationship. I'm not going to lie.
Really? Why?
I thought it was different. It was different. You know, I'm all about making something different and strange. And it was just like, wow. It's just like, I never would have thought to put these two characters together, but it's like, here they are. She going off space. She was Star-Lord for a bit. It was like, this is different. This is fun. You know, take character out their element every now and again.
She's got a thing for Peter, I guess.
That is true. It's her third.
I also really enjoyed in this book, Marvel Boy and Hercules, them kind of caring for each other in the mix of the fighting that would go on while everyone was kind of trying to figure out who the murderer was. I think I might be here for their relationship. I like it.
Like, it's up there. It's up there. And I think this is the first like actual guy that Marvel Boy has dated on panel. I know he's like mentioned before that, like obviously in that Young Avengers run where everybody was revealing that they were like gay or bisexual. That
everybody was in that book.
Everybody, literally. You know, he mentioned something about like, you know, yeah, I've had relations with guys, but we've never actually seen it. So I appreciate that we're actually like seeing it and it's well done.
You know how I feel about seeing the actual relationship. So I've been appreciating that we're actually seeing it develop into something. And, you know, I remember that I think it was Rocket who asked Marvel Boy, like, oh, you know, what's going on with you and Hercules? And, he, you know, I think I like him and we're just kind of taking it slow. We're figuring it out. And I appreciated that it was called out that they're going to actually work on their relationship and be together and not just, you know, be a fan cast thing for people to go up for.
We're going to get to the root.
Yes. Yes. And so, yeah, this book was great. They had a bomber that's going to go off in this meeting, which was done by the Chitauri, which in my opinion, I feel like was done to keep them as bad guys. If that makes sense, like to keep the Chitauri as like as bad guys, which is fine with me. And someone shows up in this who I never thought I'd ever see again because I thought she was just a character that was just made because she was just going to be made. And it's the Profiteer. And she was actually created in the Fantastic Four.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So she was on earlier in this slot run of the Fantastic Four while they were out in space on their way back to Earth. They stopped at this planet. I think it was during Empire. And they are at a casino. Long story short, they run into the Profiteer. And she is actually an elder of the universe. Like she's up there with like those big cosmic beings. Except her thing is all about profit. So she is, you know, I just want to make money. So I thought that she was just kind of created in Fantastic Four because I don't know. She was just
I thought this was definitely her first appearance.
No, she's been around.
And I was going to be like, oh yeah, I really like her. She's cool.
Yeah, she's cool over here.
That's interesting to know. I enjoyed her. I like to see more. And then the book ends off with a big surprise.
Yes,
someone is coming.
Someone's coming, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be. I want to read this, but I'm not sure if I want to read that.
It's everywhere, though. It's like he's really popping up everywhere, and it's I don't understand it.
I don't know if we can we avoid it? I don't think we can avoid it.
He's gonna be in everything. Like he's literally in everything. I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I'm along for the ride, so we'll see.
All right. Moving on. Next book on the list, we have X-Men 14. Getting back into 10 of Swords here. This is what part was this? I don't even remember what part it was.
This was part 12, I think. Yeah, 12.
12 of 22.
Yeah.
All right. So we are finally getting
a little over the halfway part.
Yeah. Like we're almost to some actual battles, some actual swords clashing. Here in this one, we have Apocalypse meeting with Genesis, and we finally learn the true story of Arakko and Ameth, Annihilation, how all of that came together, how all of it worked. We get some pages that we've already seen, which I know upset some folks, but I thought it was fine. It helped enhance the story. We have to know that the Twilight Sword for
tore the land asunder into two, and what was one became two. I know.
Parent from child, husband from wife. Like
I know it by heart by now. Although I will say that the pages that we saw again in this, for me, enhanced the story.
Yeah, I was about to say they were done for enhancement.
Yeah, it felt like it was because now we're learning everything from Genesis' side.
The real side.
Right, whereas before we learned everything from Apocalypse's side. So
I did also like her the twist with Annihilation.
Yes.
And how, we were under the assumption that she was controlling it, but she's actually like, no, I'm not.
I'm not, yeah.
Like it's very much controlling me. I am doing exactly what it wants. I'm not the strongest.
Yeah, that was really interesting, and definitely told me I was wrong. I just figured she was gonna be no bad bitch. I could control the helmet and everybody gotta die, but I guess not.
Like, nah, this helmet is strong, baby. But no, it was a really great issue. I'm a huge Apocalypse fan, and I am a very avid believer that he honestly does not have many good stories.
No.
And this era is the best Apocalypse we've ever had. And
because it's finally giving him a story. Yeah, he has a history now. There's like motivation behind everything that he's done before.
This is just great, and it's like really sad because I'm pretty sure he's going to die at the end of this, and it's just like
I get that feeling too.
If he doesn't, great, but I'm kind of getting that feeling.
You think she'll be the one to do it with the Twilight Sword?
Will it tear him asunder? No, I don't know. We'll see. I feel like that's obviously the easiest and simplest conclusion, but I don't really feel like anything about Hickman's X-Men is easy or simple.
Very true.
So we'll see. We shall see.
I am still under the impression that either she is going to kill him and she is going to take his spot on the council on Krakoa and replace him, or she is going to die and join Krakoa, and like him, Apocalypse and Genesis will just like retire together. Because I know Genesis means rebirth.
Oh, so like, be cute.
Yeah. It would be a whole nother, like she'll die and then she'll like be reborn, and they'll like maybe be born like through Krakoan means or something, and then like she's like a whole new person or something. I don't know. That's just kind of the vibe I get.
Okay. We'll see. I honestly haven't been trying to draw too many conclusions about Genesis whatsoever. So I just feel like just staring into the black. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. But I'm excited to find out. And the final book on our list is part 13 of 10 of Swords, Marauders number 14. Once again, we still have not got to the battles just yet.
Not yet.
But
and this one's by Jerry Duggan and Ben Percy.
Oh, I didn't realize they were both on it.
Casella. Yeah, they both did this together.
Oh, okay. Enough for them. It was an interesting issue.
I had fun. I did. Probably because I'm a Magic fan. Oh, and just to clarify, last episode I said I didn't like Magic. I didn't mean Magic the character. I love Ileana Rasky. I like her. I meant Magic the concept and the power. I don't really like that. But even like Magic Ileana, her sorcery abilities are even like they're like ill-defined in the way that she kind of just brings them up whenever she needs them, but they're limited in what she can do. She can't do everything, you know.
Yeah, that was one of the distinctions that I really liked about the issue. Not this issue, but one of the previous issues where it gave the data page for her sword.
Yeah,
and it kind of like told you what her magic abilities actually were. And I was like, oh, okay, that was fun. Because again, like you said, that's something that's always been a little ill-defined with her.
Yeah. So in this one, it's it's the dinner before the fight. Everyone gets to mingle up and meet each other Storm ain't scared of no damn body. Okay. Especially not Death or War, who tried to intimidate her, and she's sipping her drink like, child.
Baby, she saw Death and she was ready.
Okay.
she was ready. Which I really like. They seem to be planning. I know they've been saying that something big is supposed to be coming for Storm next year. And I do feel like we've been getting little bits and pieces of that. We've been seeing a lot of conversations with her surrounding life and death and rebirth. And then I think we've talked about this before. We kind of see her as like the Krakoan Reverend Mother. Like she welcomes people back from the resurrections. Like she shows them to the people. She's got the whole goddess thing going on.
She's inspirational.
Very. And so I think that's a really interesting thing that they've been doing with her. And so kind of having her face Death, and Death is like, oh, you don't know me. And she's like, no, I do know you.
Right.
I'm just not scared of you. So I'm excited to see how that continues on for her story into the next year. One thing I did not, before I even get to that, Iska. Wow. She is the moment. She is the okay?
Yeah.
All right? Like,
she is.
You could have just asked me what hand I preferred. What?
Okay,
what?
Listen. Magic, what? I love that. Magic has been really showing off her captain role in this. And I feel like her captain, the kind of captain that she plays on Krakoa is like the general, I guess, kind of. And she's like sizing people up. She's going through this entire party like, let me see what's going on here. She is not here for Pog. She at all. She was like, that thing's got to die. And her and Gorgon go over to Iska and they're like, hey, we've already kind of figured out War likes this hand and Death is really prone to this hand. What's up with Iska? And Iska already knew.
She's like, I've been here before. I actually like that you mentioned that about Magic's captaining-ness, this issue, because that's something I felt as though hasn't been very well done with her in all the other books where she's claimed to be captain. I kind of feel like she's actually been a little bit of a bad leader and a bad captain. And so kind of having her and Gorgon actually, hey, like, we got to figure out some battle plans and like, let's do this and like talking it out. I was like, oh, okay, this is something we haven't really seen with her. We've just kind of seen her jumping in like, I'm the captain, everybody listen to me. And then she tries to do everything herself.
I don't know. I disagree with that because when she was on, I feel like her captainness has been kind of like, unfortunately, the thing that she always kind of falls into, which is the badass. But I feel like she's been like the muscle with her captain role, and whereas other captains,
that's why I don't think she's a good captain.
Why?
I just don't feel like as a captain, as the person who's supposed to be the leader, you can't also be the muscle. You have to like.
I feel like maybe I'm looking at captain differently. I feel like captain, in my opinion, would be the leader on the battlefield. And when we saw her in the Empire tie-in, she was the one that was like kind of calling the shots over there and getting the psychics over because that's what they needed. And unfortunately, of course, she ended up getting possessed by that wand or whatever. But of course, again, in my opinion, only was done because it was cool, because she looked cool. But I feel like her, because she's the youngest captain, I feel like she's the one that is I'm going to be the muscle and I need to just fight, if that makes sense. That's the role that she plays.
No, it does. It totally makes sense. I just don't feel as though it's a good captain role. I even think of like what that New Mutants issue when they were in space and then they found out they were about to fight and she's like, okay, this is a wartime, I'm in charge now. And it's just like, okay, you're in charge, but that means you also can't really, you gotta lead the people. It's like I feel like when you got to know how to like put your players everywhere when they need to be. And I don't feel like, again, I might have to just reread that Empire miniseries again. I don't feel like I enjoyed her as a captain in that though. I feel like that's where a lot of my issues actually came to the forefront.
I feel like she didn't really get to show off too much in that because, again, she ended up getting that wand.
I was about to say, and then she got
like,
possessed, and it's just like,
yeah,
oh, sis, you're in charge. You can't be the one getting possessed. Like, come on now. Like, why were that's the thing? Like, why are you going in there? You are in charge. Delegate.
Because she's the one that is gonna look cool. That's why. I feel like, unfortunately for her, a lot of the decisions that end up being done for her is because she looks cool instead of actually giving her a story. Agreed. I see the story that is there, but sometimes it ends up falling a little short because they go the cool route.
She's cool.
She's cool.
Yeah. So that was that.
But I don't know if she's gonna be able to take Iska because her and Gorgon walking up to Iska, and they were like, I feel like Magic was convinced that they were going to be able to figure out which hand that she had.
Yeah.
And she picked them both of the wine glasses that they dropped.
Like, I got it.
And I got them both, didn't spill a drop. And like, you could have just asked me if you wanted to know.
And you got some fear from Gorgon, which I thought was great because he's obviously supposed to be that guy. Like him and Magic are both supposed to be those characters who like don't fear anybody and they're like not scared of anything. So to see them kind of be like, no, we got to watch out for her, like a moment.
Yeah.
So the one thing I actually did not care too much for this issue was Wolverine.
Yeah, me neither. Well, okay, partially because he had a little talk with Brian Braddock and was like, if you could make some shake a little bit if Saturday, if that's all she wanted. Was if all she wanted was you in her bed chamber, you could have just did that, which I completely understand. But the way that he was acting at the dinner was a little.
So both actually kind of like I didn't really gel with. On the one hand, yes, Wolverine is extremely practical. He knows if this is the easiest way to get something done, like, and we can avoid all these people getting hurt, and like you have to be the one to kind of like throw yourself on the cross, like do that. He's done it numerous times. But in the same vein, I feel like he's had a little bit more tact with it, and just how he approached Brian at the party. It's just like, it was just kind of the most basic Logan, which is angry, mean, surly, drunk. And even those moments where you have had Logan come back and like be very surly and drunk, he kind of reflects afterwards, like, you're being stupid, you're being like the person who everybody thinks you are, that's not who you actually are. And then also I feel like even with the whole Brian and Saturnine thing, Saturnine might say all she wants is Brian in her bed, but we know that's not all she wants. And I feel like Wolverine of all people would be smart enough to know that. That's like, yeah, she might get Brian, but she's also just getting Brian. She wouldn't be doing all of this just to sleep with this one person. Dick ain't that bomb. And so that was kind of like, to me. And then, like you said, we get to the dinner and he kind of launches this attack at Saturnine, which is strange also to me because, again, Logan's just like, he's smarter than that. Like, just like in the middle of this dinner, she's this magical, like, giant person creature thing. And then to have Storm kind of sign off on the plan earlier in the issue, it was just strange.
Yeah, it was interesting in the beginning when Storm did say, hey, I already know what you're thinking, which of all the characters who would know, what's going on in Wolverine's head, obviously it would be Storm. And for her, he was like, are you going to try to talk me out of it? And she was like, no, don't miss. I feel like from Storm's perspective, it was we got to do what we got to do. and I completely agree with, and I don't think that's really out of character for Storm to be like, hey, no, I understand that you want to go kill this bitch, so do what you got to do.
I hope it's more of a thing like she's like, I know you're gonna go kill her, but it's like she didn't think, oh, you're gonna do it at the dinner.
Right, exactly. I don't think she thought that he was gonna do it at the dinner.
But then again, we also had War putting something into his drink.
Yes.
So it's
and on
like
his food too.
But though, I'm not going to lie to you, I don't think that had anything to do with what he did. I think that's going to come more into play during his battle. I think back to his card where it had him fighting, he's fighting a summoner on his
Yeah.
card, and like the summoner kind of has him in a headlock, and the card says strength or something like that. I think it's going to play more into that part.
Oh.
Him just being crazy
And Summoner is
stabbing
War's
her.
child, right?
Yes. Which is another reason why I think that, you know, hey, like she did that for Summoner to win that fight.
Yeah.
Which, oh my gosh, Wolverine losing? I'm not ready for that. I don't think I like that. So yeah, that it was an odd issue. There were parts I liked. I really loved the Storm and Death stuff. Even the Storm and War stuff, I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, I did think
War
that
was like, War was like really in her face. The Storm was just like, "Girl, if you don't sit down,
right? I'm not scared of you."
Right. I really love the Iska stuff. Obviously, Pog again. Still do not like that lizard. Really, just needs to get rid of him.
I think Magic's gonna take care of it. Like, please. I really do.
Rudy, we are rooting for you. We are all rooting for you. So that's that, and then but yeah, it was just the Wolverine stuff that was just kind of like, oh, this is a little weird to me.
Yeah,
like, but it's just it's, you know,
we'll see what happens. Maybe this was for a reason.
Yeah, we'll see next issue again. Please, let's get some fights. I'm ready to see some swords, like crack, clank.
I've seen some preview pages for the next couple issues, and it looks like the matches are starting to happen. If it looks like we're finally going to get some Pog versus Magic. I'm sorry, Keenan. It don't look like Betsy's.
I am so excited for Betsy versus Iska. Like
that's coming, and I don't know about your girl.
we love warrior women over here, okay? And so it's just, and so like I did see that preview page, and I loved it how like she came up to her and she was like, "Oh yeah, you ready to get beat?" And Betsy's like, "Get away from me!" She's like, "Why are you over here?" It's just like I love like their dynamic together already. It's just like this is great. It's just like they're both ready. I'm interested to see also like how they're doing because I feel like we still got a lot of battles left. So it's like, are we going to get one full battle each issue, or is it like, are we going to see multiple in them?
I wonder that too. I think we might see multiple during issues because it seems like they're all going to take place in different realms scattered in Otherworld. So
yeah, which was great. I love that aspect of how it's happening. Change the terrain.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. I have been waiting for these fights since the first issue. Okay, like like the fact that we're like changing terrain, like they're going to be running around. It's not just like on this one little field. Like this is a tournament. This is what I am here for and what I am ready for. And it's just like, wow. I am a little anxious. I think there's a lot of great art coming on the books. I don't know how well all of those artists do action scenes though. The preview pages I saw for Magic fighting Pog looked fine. I thought that was great. That was Kasara, right?
Yes, it was.
I feel like yeah, he did a really good job with that. Phil Noto is doing the Excalibur issue. I think Phil's a great artist. I don't always love his interior pages though.
You know, that's kind of fair. I love his covers. His covers are stellar.
Fantastic covers.
Yeah, and I do like his interior art. I
think he leaves a lot of open space in a lot of his stuff.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of it feels a little bland after a while. It's just like but I think it's we'll see. I'm ready.
For a matchup between, you know, Captain Britain and Iska, maybe you just only want to see the two of them.
Okay,
so
that's it. We're like, let's go. Just throw down the weapons. Let's just box, ladies. Let's do this.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be a fun episode.
Yeah, that's gonna be great. I'm excited. This is Exoswords has been really fantastic. I'm having a great time.
It has been. And so those were all the books we had on our list. But of course, like there were still tons of other books coming out. If you guys read any of them, please let us know. I know over at DC, there was another issue of Deceased by Tom Taylor, which has been getting really good reviews. Young Justice issue 20 came out. I don't know if people are still reading that. If you are, please let me know what's going on.
And tell me why.
That too. Over on the Marvel side, there were books. Avengers came out. I'm not reading this particular arc. I believe this is the one that starts their whole Phoenix story. It's just not for me.
No time for that.
Miles Morales.
Yes.
Miles Morales had a new issue out. Of course, he's been getting a lot of talk this week. His game just got some new gameplay and some new suits announced.
They look awesome.
Really good. The white one?
Yeah.
Chef's kiss. That was perfect.
Yeah, seriously.
U.S. Agent came out. That's written by Christopher Priest. A lot of people like his writing. It's probably another mini to tie in with Falcon and Winter Soldier.
That was shady.
If you read that, let me know how that was. Actually, if you read that, please.
Yeah, if you read U.S. Agent, let us know what you thought.
And then there's another Wolverine miniseries called Wolverine Black, White, and Blood. I didn't pick it up. A lot of Wolverine miniseries, I will admit, come out just to be cash grabs. So if anyone read it and it doesn't feel like that, please let me know, because when it's not and it's like a really good Logan story, it's a really good Logan story.
Okay.
And that was that. So let's take a little break.
All right, cool. Let's take a break and then we'll come back.
And we are back, and I still have people screaming outside about Biden winning.
Yes. You know what? Fantastic. Let's celebrate, y'all.
I'm so happy. Like, I'm going out tonight.
Yes.
So to the liquor store and come back home.
The same. Ain't nowhere else to go. We still in a pandemic.
Okay.
And speaking of debates,
yes. Ooh, yes.
This week I feel like there wasn't too much news going on. Again, no big announcements or anything like that. No new books or anything. So I figured we could do a character discussion. So the character that you had suggested that you want to just dive right into, since I think you said you read Star, was Captain Marvel.
Yeah. I'm so excited.
So let's do it. Let's start with how did you like Star, actually? Let's start there.
Star. Okay. Star. I really like the art on the book. Let me start there. I thought the art, and I'm gonna actually look up the artist right now while I'm talking because I cannot remember who did it. But the art was like really well done. I enjoyed looking at this book. It was super pretty. Again, this was also written by Kelly Thompson, who is just a really great, consistent writer. I think you hit the nail on the head where you said she kind of writes a character to get you familiar with them and then takes them to the next level.
Yes.
Javier Pina and Felipe Andrade did the art for this miniseries. I also really like the use of the Black Order.
Yes.
Who were, I don't know what story I missed with them, but they're living on Earth now, like in these human disguises.
Okay, so like I also missed that. I had no idea why they were around. I just accepted it for what it was.
I was just like, okay, this is weird, but I was like, but I'll take it.
Clearly something was going on with the Avengers or something. I don't know.
Somewhere. the Black Order is there. And so, okay, so because you read Captain Marvel consistently, let me know if I'm wrong in any of these bits, because I did like just a very quick wiki on Star and her character and just kind of read like what happened before this mini and the like part 1 of the book.
Yeah.
And so basically Ripley, who is Star, she was a reporter for some magazine and she was doing an interview for Captain Marvel. Then she got kidnapped, used in a plot of the Nuclear Man. Carol punches her in the chest, and then she somehow gets bonded with the Reality Stone. And that's where we start off in this book.
Yes. So I guess I will break it down for you there. And I'll spoil it now, but I do hope that you go back and actually read at least the Star arc of Captain Marvel to get a little bit more, to fill in the blanks here better than I will. But I will just kind of spoil it for you there, but I do think you should go back and read it. So what happened was kind of like what we talked about earlier with Kelly Thompson, and kind of getting you familiar with the character and then launching it into something bigger and forward. The relaunch of Captain Marvel started with her being, Carol and fighting these monsters or whatever. And then she's on an island, on New York Island, and the nuclear man like takes over that area, but he is like misogyny personified. So like
that was the first arc, yes, where like had She-Hulk and Echo and Hazmat and all them in it.
Exactly, all of them.
Okay,
so like
I remember that. I read that arc.
Oh, okay, yes. Ooh. See, if you kept going, you would have got more star.
I mean, people just think I be trying it. I be reading some of the stories. I be knowing a little something.
So then you read that first arc and you saw Nuclear Man kind of take over this island, and where men were only allowed and the women were subservient and everything there. And I love the story. Sometimes the feminist moments were a little heavy-handed there, but it was a little heavy-handed, but I did still enjoyed it. Now, before the Nuclear Man came, Ripley was a reporter for Ms. Magazine, which is a magazine that Carol used to be like the head of. Back in the day, like when she first was kind of introduced, she was a journalist on for Ms. Magazine. So this is like kind of like a nod to that, and Ripley was coming to do like a whole interview on her, and she was going to follow her around for the whole day and just kind of see how she lives her day to day, and then do a whole like report on Captain Marvel. Carol, I think, originally didn't even really want to do it, but she felt like it would be good press because she's back on Earth now. She was fine with doing it or whatever. So then after that whole thing goes down with Nuclear Man and everything is kind of returned back to normal, Ripley does her story in the magazine, but it is all about how Carol is the worst and how she didn't do a very good job of handling this Nuclear Man, and how like she's just not that great of a person or a hero. And come to find out, not only did Ripley obviously believe all these things because she hates Carol, Dr. Minerva, who is basically one of Carol's like villains, she was actually the one kind of setting up for Carol to have a disgrace with Earth. It came out that Carol was Kree, and Earth like turned away from her. She was saving this like random spaceship that fell, and she found out the pilot inside was Kree, and she goes to help him, and photographers are taking pictures of her, but that ends up being the front of the newspaper where it says, is she for Earth or is she for Kree? She's helping these Kree people. Like where do her loyalties actually lie? And long story short, Minerva helped Ripley get powers, basically. Minerva was trying to like engineer some Kree soldiers and kind of make her own thing, but none of them took. Ripley ended up coming to her, and because she wanted powers of her own, probably so that she could take down Carol, and she injected her with this like transmitter. And then it turned out that the Kree ship that Carol had helped earlier in that story was actually like poisoned, and she got the other transmitter and with these nanites in her, and it was siphoning the power from Carol to Ripley. So Carol's powers are being drained, and she's like, what the hell is going on? I'm like punching these things, and I know I'm much stronger than that, or like I'm blasting these photon blasts and nothing's going on. And Star would come in and like save the day, and it would just all make Carol look really bad. Carol ended up getting she got her name taken from her from the Air Force. Like she was forced to resign from the Air Force, all because she was Kree. It almost made her start drinking again. She like went and bought alcohol, and she was going through a bad time of like, what's going on? My powers are being drained and nobody likes me. So that's kind of how Ripley got her powers, was she worked with Minerva and they were being siphoned off from her. And Ripley starts to call herself Star. She hates Captain Marvel. They start fighting. Captain Marvel, of course, figures out the whole transmitter thing. So her first thing was she ripped the transmitter out of her own chest and destroyed it. And Star was like, that's dumb. Why would you even do that? Like, that makes no sense. And she thought, because Carol thought that if I destroyed the transmitter, she just wouldn't have any more power. But it turned out that Ripley thought ahead, and because she knew Captain Marvel was going to try to do some heroic martyrs shit. Yeah. So she actually ended up making more transmitters and infecting the crowd around her, because she thought that if I can't get all the power from Captain Marvel, I'll get a little bit of power from everyone. So yeah, she thought ahead. So Captain Marvel, of course, thought, what am I going to do? How do I fix this? So she put the transmitter back in herself, tried to defeat Star, but it wasn't really working. And then she tore the one in Star's chest and ripped it out, because she left her no choice. Star was like, it's either you kill me or you start to stop all these people who also have the transmitter in them. What are you going to do? And Captain Marvel felt like she had no other choice but to stop her. So then, of course, when she did rip it out of her chest, they took her to the hospital or whatever and kind of healed her and stuff. But she, through comic book magic, she woke up and she had the reality stone in her chest.
Got it. Okay. And hence where we start at the beginning of the Star miniseries.
Yeah.
Star is very visibly shaken. And she has PTSD, and she's suffering from anxiety about Carol killing her, basically. And we see throughout this book, she's kind of learning that she has the reality stone in her chest. She's learning how to use it. She's getting a bit better creating weapons and doing things that she needs to do, making her costume, giving herself strength. She realizes the words that she says have an impact on what happens. So it's she says strong, but you're not necessarily stronger than her, or you're not invincible. So she's kind of figuring all that out, which I thought was really well done. I think reading this, I feel like she has a lot of similar characteristics to Carol, which is why they are kind of foils to each other, because Lord knows, if I ever met anyone who acted just like me, I would not get along with them. So it's I completely understand that. And I see Ripley kind of going through these things. I think, let me start here, actually. I feel like a lot of people think I just don't like Carol Danvers. And that I've never read any story with her, and I just do not get her and all this other stuff. That's not the case. I've actually read a lot of stories with Carol. I remember her time with the X-Men when she was binary. I have tried to read
I feel like there's a lot of people who end up not really liking Carol for whatever reason, but I rarely get a reason.
Reason why.
Yeah.
And so my biggest issue with Carol, and I actually think you and I have talked about this a little bit, is mainly comes from her attitude. I think she is extremely stubborn, bullheaded, and she tends to punch first and ask questions later. And I think she's a kind of a character who I've read, or what I've seen in the things that I've read, is she never really learns from her mistakes. She just finds new ways to make the same exact ones. And and it always gets this spin on it, and she's still somehow seen as I think a big part is even when you were just talking about that whole Star thing, you were Star thought ahead. Carol doesn't really, I've never really seen Carol think ahead in the situation. And I think when you were watching Legend of Korra, you had texted me one day and you were I feel like Korra and Carol are kind of similar. And I was yeah, I also don't like Korra. I can understand why someone might like them, and I get it, but it's just kind of when do you really start to see that shift in the character and her thinking, where it's like, you keep on doing this. I think Secret Empire is a really good example for me, where she had this moment, like after trying to beat back the force field that was stopping her and Alpha Flight from getting to Earth, you know, she has this kind of like breakdown moment. She's like, you know, everyone thinks of me as like this super strong person. I make these mistakes and I don't do this and I don't do that. And then like, boom, she like has this moment of clarity, and then things come together and she like runs down and she goes into it. And then you kind of go back to like the scene right after, and she's just doing the same things over again. And it's just like, it's like, what just happened? Like an issue ago, like you just said this was the problem, and now here we are, and you're hitting it the exact same way. And of course, Civil War 2 doesn't help with her at all. That was like, and honestly, even as someone who's not a Carol fan, that was bad for her. Like, I don't even think she's that bad.
Yeah, I feel like and I'll probably discuss that later, but I feel like that was just bad all around. That was just bad.
And then the other issue that I've always kind of had with characters, that I've never really been able to get her character. And I think you've said to me that this current run is really showing you who Carol Danvers is, and like getting into her mindset. And I think I don't also know who Captain Marvel is, because they've always kind of switched back and forth about what she's supposed to be. Is she like the world's greatest superhero? Is she like the intergalactic defender, commander person? Is she the soldier or the hero? And I feel as though that are two things that can't really coexist. Like, they seem the same, but they're two very different type of like character traits. And I don't really feel like those two have ever been meshed well for me.
I feel like she is both. I think if I had to guess on how to describe her, I think she is both the soldier and the hero. Her soldierness comes out in the kind of mistakes that you talk about, where she's just, I'm just going to follow the whatever is my first instinct and just go punch stuff. But at the end of the day, she wants to be a hero. She wants to be Captain Marvel, the one who, because she wants to save and protect people. So I think I guess kind of where her duality is.
And I guess that's the thing for me. I don't think those two things can coexist.
Interesting.
I think to be the soldier or the like fighter or the warrior means to know that you are going to have to do like the bad thing. And yay Biden. And
well, see, that's where I feel like that's where you get that in her solo, because she punched a hole in that girl's chest because she felt like there was no other way to save all of these people. They're in the middle of Times Square, and
but see, and so I guess for me, when I say hero, I think of, I mean, that altruistic character, like a Kamala Khan. Like I don't see Kamala punching a hole in somebody's chest.
No.
You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's some of the things that a lot of past writers that I've read have tried to paint her as. They like want her to be like this grand hero, and it's like it doesn't
absolutely
work.
Not.
Yeah, and it's like that doesn't work.
That's not her.
That's not who she is.
She's not an altruistic hero like that.
Exactly. And so that's where
people end up looking at her like that. And I think that, again, is kind of what she talks about. By she, I mean Kelly Thompson is talking about in this current one, where people see her that way. But she is not that, because, again, like we just said, she's much more willing to punch a hole in someone's chest before she is going to be very starry-eyed and altruistic about something the way Ms. Marvel is. Whereas, and I think that, in my opinion, is where a lot of previous writers have kind of failed with Carol, because for a while it was that they wanted to make her was just the hero, and no one really knew what that meant.
Exactly.
Other than the fact that she is super strong, she can fly, and she's got energy blasts. You know what I mean? Yeah. Outside of her powers and her costume, they didn't really know what else to really do with that. Yeah. They didn't know what kind of hero she was.
Yeah, agreed. And so that has always been my thing with Carol. That's why I've never really been able to gel with her as a character. Again, totally get it. I see why people can't like her. I can understand the motivations. It just has never really clicked for me.
So did you like the Star series for?
So yeah,
As the from the villain perspective, I guess.
So tying that back into Star, yes. I liked it for the fact that, like, even though I feel like Kelly was trying to give you a kind of, I guess, sympathetic villain approach to Ripley.
Yeah.
Ripley's just a bad person.
She's just a bad person, right?
Right. She's just a bad person. It's like, it doesn't even matter. So it's like, this is one.
There were times where I was like, I feel like she was trying to like give her some soft moments, but like even in the Captain Marvel run, she's not a good person.
And it's like, and so
she can just be bad.
Even her kind of talking about, like, she has these moments of anxiety where she passes out and she's like, I'm so terrified of like what Carol did to me. It's just kind of like, I mean, sis, you deserved it a little bit.
I mean, like, hello. Like, what other choice does she have?
It was just like, what are you gonna do here? And so that was kind of weird for me. I was like, I see Kelly's like trying to do it, but I was like, she just bad. So it was like, whatever. Yeah.
I think that's one of those things where for some reason people won't let villains, and it happens a lot with female villains, where they won't let them just be villains. Like they have to have some kind of like redeeming quality or some kind of sympathetic thing about them. I think a villain can just be bad. like
people are bad. Okay. Yeah. Like, it is okay. Like sometimes people are just shitty, bad, or shitty, whatever, and it's just like they are just bad. And so it's like I appreciate you trying. You can give me the backstory or whatever, and like give this character some more meat, but you can also really just emphasize that they are just a bad person, and like that is okay. Like they are a villain just because they are a villain, and like that works out for me. I think some of this, of course, you get a little bit of Carol's punch first, ask questions later personality, which coming from Star's POV is fine. Coming from someone who's already not like super fond of Carol, it just kind of reminds you like, like this is why I don't like you. So I thought that was like kind of fun. The addition of Scarlet Witch was also which it's funny. You give me a book with Scarlet Witch, Captain Marvel, and Jessica Jones in it.
Yeah. Three people I know you don't go up for.
Oh my gosh. And it's like you get all three of these women together and you're just like, wow. It's just like, okay.
Yeah.
But I thought that was funny because again, you're seeing it from Star's POV. So it's kind of like, yeah, she doesn't like them, so it's like she gets what I'm going.
You kind of get why you don't really like Scarlet Witch either, because
it's like, the Pretender, the Great Pretender. So,
but I mean, if they're gonna have someone who has reality warping powers,
the reason why she came in the book was completely fine. It made total sense. I actually really appreciate it. It was a nice way to tie it in. And again, like Kelly is she's just good at writing, and she's good at tying things in together and like making sure it has a very seamless flow to it. And it's great. And Star is good. Again, like I see a little bit of similarities in Carol's personality with Ripley. It's just that Ripley's just obviously more on the bad side. But I think again, it is good for, I know what they were trying to do. They're trying to make Star like Carol's great nemesis.
Yeah. I think I don't know if they're like really, really pushing for that. I think at one point they were, obviously, because they gave her a mini, but I think that she should be.
Really? Okay. I think that would be perfect. Because again, like they're the same person a little bit. So it's like, if you meet yourself, you're not gonna like you.
they're both extremely stubborn and believe in them. They both believe in themselves.
Like that. Like I am the one who's right here.
They both very much like believe in themselves. And the thing with Carol is, she at base can lift 50 tons, and then when she gets powered up, it's like over 100 or whatever. So like, you need someone who can actually take her and contend with that. And who better than Star?
Reality warping.
A reality warping, yeah.
Which I'm a little interested to see how, I guess, whenever she decides to bring it back, it's like how they're going to do this thing with the reality stone. Is it like the reality stone that we have always known about? Is it like an alternate reality stone?
So I think at the time when Star was like coming out or like being introduced, all the other stones were also being put into people.
That was like during the Infinity Wars thing, right?
Yeah.
And but so I feel like
I didn't read that.
I read some of it.
Okay.
It was a little strange after a while. But I feel like in that book they were going to other realities to get other reality stones.
Oh.
And so it's I truly feel like that was something that happened, and I'm not making that up. So it's because that's how the Philavel and Moondragon came to our universe. Because they like ran into them. Yes. This is all making sense again.
Isn't the time stone like in someone now? Is it still? I think it was in a guy.
Like, I remember Black Widow had a stone. There was a lot of stuff going on in that.
I skipped all of that.
I might go back and reread it now. So I think that was something I was thinking about. It's just like I felt like I didn't really get enough information. That's why I wanted to ask you. It was like, did I miss something of how this stone got in her chest? It was just there.
So the books for Captain Marvel 8 through 11 was like is the Star arc of Captain Marvel, and that's where you get all of Star and like what's going on with there. Actually, I'm gonna tell you should read it because you'll learn way more about Star and her motivations and an even deeper side of why she hates Carol, and you'll see kind of the thing that you don't like about Carol is how you don't like think that she learns. You'll see her learning in this, and you'll see her realizing that I can't keep doing the same shit that I was doing before because that's not working. So I think it's Captain Marvel, the current volume of Captain Marvel 8 through 11.
I'll think about it. And
I'm gonna hold you to it. I'm gonna hold you to it. I know it's on Marvel Unlimited, so you don't even got to buy it. I already know that you could just load it up and read it.
I would think about. We will see if
the art's fantastic.
We'll see if Kelly Thompson can do the unthinkable here
and get you to read more Captain Marvel.
And get me to read more Captain Marvel, because again, I've tried it. I've read a couple of different ones. Kelly. I remember when Suit debuted, Kelly Sue, the Reed guy who was writing the book into the whole
her Ms.
Marvel phase. Yeah, I remember all that. That was weird. Bad.
Ooh. Ooh. And now that when she got her Ms. Marvel solo series, not her original one when she was just, in the iconic black suit with the red sash.
Yeah.
That, in my opinion, is when things started to become bland for her. Meaning she had this really interesting trajectory from her debut to being binary to coming back and being with the Avengers for a little bit. And then when she got her own solo series, they were trying to make her like a premier female character at Marvel. They wanted to make her like a bigger character. But maybe it was because it was being written by a man. I don't know. But it was fully just about like random relationships and mostly like her powers. They'd never really got really into like her psyche and like what she wanted to do and everything there, really until she became Captain Marvel. So that whole era was it was something.
and I think that was a time where I was like actually actively trying to get into Carol. I think I had been doing some rereading of X-Men, like again when she was hanging around with them in the Star Jammers, and I was in like the book was out, and I was like, oh yeah, let me try and get into this, and I read, and I was like, oh wow, like I cannot like this woman. And then, but I remember Moonstone took over the book, and I really liked Moonstone during Dark Reign, which was a great time at Marvel. Okay, like Dark Reign era was like great. And so I
side note, speaking of Moonstone, I've always thought that she should be a villain
nemesis for Carol.
For Sue Storm. Not Carol. That's too easy. That's too easy.
That sounds like
I feel like, yeah, I feel like that's too easy. I would want her to be a nemesis for Sue Storm because her abilities she can phase through her shields. So that would make Sue have to actually think outside the box and what she can do with her powers. Moonstone also she's just bad. Like she doesn't.
And that's why I love Moonstone, because Moonstone is legit. Like I like playing with people.
Exactly. She's just bad. And I think that would be an interesting foil for Sue more than Carol.
Okay, that's interesting.
We can talk about that later. But I feel like with Captain Marvel, like my introduction to her was with the binary era. So like I think my actual first remembrance of her may have been from the 90s X-Men cartoon. I think I saw her there first when Rogue took her powers and everything. And I think from there, my dad was like, oh, well, if you like her, that's actually binary. And he gave me the books of her when she was binary. So that was my actual comic book introduction to her.
That was a great design. I'll never take that.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
The binary design was like amazing. And again, like that's what made me end up going back to say, oh, maybe I should get into this character.
Yeah. So like my first introduction to her was while she was binary and she was out there with the Starjammers and she was with Professor Xavier and the New Mutants and she went to Limbo and all that kind of stuff. Like that was when I knew her. And even back then, she was very much like, I'm just down for the cause and I'm just want to do good for everyone around me. And like, let's just not be evil here, everybody. And, you know, she rode with the mutants and the Starjammers and everything. So that was my introduction to her. And then I continued to like her. I liked her when she was with the Avengers after that. I used to always wonder how she lost her binary powers. And again, what I love about Kelly Thompson was back in her binary era, there was a crossover event called Operation Galactic Storm that was a big Avengers crossover. And in it, long story short, Carol, of course, restarted the sun again because like a bomb went off. The sun was dying. She exploded in the sun or whatever and actually restarted it and helped the sun. That is the reason she ended up losing her connection to her binary mode where she was like way, kind of in my opinion, like way overpowered. They wanted to bring her back to Earth, but they needed to have a way for her to be able to actually be on Earth. And so they took her binary abilities away, but that's where she was still able to do the whole energy blast. She was still super strong and invulnerable or whatever. To the point where I think early in the Avengers, they had her doing like a training with Hank Pym monitoring what all she could do so they could actually have a defined, this is what she can do while she's on Earth so that everyone knows that she's just not like super cosmic being or whatever. So during her whole Avengers one was great. That's when we start to learn more about her and her problem with alcohol. And that she has used to suffer from alcoholism. She goes to AA. Tony Stark was her mentor there. Yeah, you know, they got to work through their issues. And yeah, and then after that, then she got her solo series and things kind of didn't go that well there for her.
Didn't she she had sex with her son?
Okay, so she didn't have. So this was actually something that happened earlier in her career. So after she was created, she did the whole I was caught in an explosion thing, and she got her quote unquote superpowers and became Ms. Marvel. She used to faint and would become Ms. Marvel. I think it was just a trope back in like the 70s, you know, where the women
had to faint.
Yeah, the women had to faint. and because she couldn't be in control of her own power or whatever, obviously sexism. So, but that ended up happening like the first maybe 6 or 7 issues, and then I didn't know this until recently, going back and reading it. Claremont came in and took over for Carol's book, so he kind of really changed a lot of that. He took
I was about to say, it's already making a little bit more sense now.
Yeah, he changed all of that. He took away the whole fainting thing. He made her way more capable with her abilities. He defined exactly how much she could lift and what all she could do and all that kind of stuff. And by the end of it, he even had her and Captain Marvel, the male Captain Marvel, meet each other and on being just friends. They weren't lovers. He didn't want her to just be like the female Captain Marvel behind him, and like he wanted her to be her own character. So Claremont kind of came in and kind of saved her there. Then the book was canceled. She joins the Avengers, and that's when things kind of didn't go so well for her with the comment, the story that you're talking about. So after she's with the Avengers for a little while, there's a story of her where she is basically kidnapped by this guy named Marcus, and Marcus like impregnates her, and she comes back to the Avengers, and within like a few days she's like 3 months pregnant, and then all of a sudden she like gives birth to a kid, and the Avengers, Marcus shows up and like basically like hypnotizes her and just like takes her away. And the Avengers basically like cheer. No one stops anything. No one stops it or anything. And the story is called like The Rape of Carol Danvers, because she was literally just taken. She wasn't in love with this Marcus person. He literally just took her and impregnated her. And in the story, he says that she said, "How did this even happen to me?" And he says, "I used my own way of force to make this happen." And like, it was a terrible story.
Oh my gosh.
Really, really bad. So of course, Claremont comes in and saves her again. So after that whole debacle happens, and Claremont comes in, and that's where you get the whole Rogue thing, actually. So she comes back, Rogue takes her powers and completely basically like did a wipeout for Carol. So Rogue takes her powers. Claremont takes Carol over with the X-Men, and he has her running missions with them as just a regular human while she kind of gets her mind together. And there's an issue of the Avengers. I think it's Avengers 200. And the Avengers come to the X-Mansion to speak with Carol. And Carol, Storm, and Spider-Woman were like out there just hanging out by the pool. And Carol's like, I'll handle this. And that was the first time I think I'd ever had a moment where the writer was blatantly speaking through the character, because Carol gives a whole speech about how you guys no one came to help me. I was taken away and no one was here for me, but like the X-Men, and maybe I'll come back around to the Avengers, but you guys need to really look inward on like what you guys actually stand for. Mind you, at the time, she's saying this to Beast too, because he's an Avenger. Because Beast was also
hypocrites.
The hypocrites. So she ends up, they ask her if she wants to come back. She says, "Hell no. I'm staying with the X-Men. I'm going to stay over here and I'm going to get my life together by myself." That's where you get the Brood Saga, actually. So she ends up helping the X-Men with the Brood Saga. She goes binary, and then we get kind of the story that I was mentioning earlier. So she's had a very, very interesting journey in the beginning. It kind of just got derailed in the 90s, and like probably pretty much until Kelly Sue came in and made her Captain Marvel. Where it was just kind of sitting on her as just being, I have super strength and I can punch stuff and I've got these powers. Look how cool I look, rather than actually being a character that had her own motivations and stuff like that. My connection with Carol was I I've always liked how hopeful she was.
Mm-hmm.
She is very much I gotta keep going. Like I have to keep pushing. I know, and I know I can do this. There's nothing that's really gonna that's gonna push me down and make me stop from this. So I've always really appreciated that. She's a very hopeful character. I like when she's all like that. I also do like her power. She beats ass. That's always really cool. But outside of that, I've always just enjoyed her as a character. Her arrogance and everything there comes from being powerful, in my opinion. When you have powers like that, I think she has never really. You gonna talk your shit? Yeah, who you really afraid of? Like, you know what I'm saying? I get it. Who you really afraid of? So I felt like she kind of runs into situations because she has always been powerful, but that's where the story comes in, where she learns that I can't always do that.
And that's what Kelly Sue is doing right now.
That's what
Kelly Sue. Kelly Thompson is doing right now.
Yeah, for sure. Kelly Sue did that a lot too. She really expanded on Carol. And I feel like Kelly Thompson, in my opinion, is really, really giving you both Captain Marvel and Carol.
Okay.
So yeah, I like her. I feel like she gets a lot of hate, but I've never really seen a lot of people really give a reason on why they dislike her. Other than,
she's definitely been put into a lot of situations where she kind of comes off unlikable. Again, but I think that is her personality. I think she's one of those like people who like everyone is not going to like.
No. And I think sometimes though, I think that they set her up though in a lot of those situations.
So no, that also happened too. Like again, like we said, Civil War II was like bad for her. You think about that moment during the first Civil War? I want to say where she goes to the X-Men after like the school bus just got blown up. And she's like, oh, we want you guys to like register with us. And like Emma kind of drags her. She's like, we are here burying our children, and you were here asking us to like join your war. Like we have our own problems right now. And it's like, you didn't even like ask about how we're doing at first. It's just like, yeah, what you here for?
See, and again, I feel like that was during that Ms. Marvel solo series. And I feel like that was, again, her being put in a situation that didn't make any sense and her being set up again. Yeah,
especially because Marvel, you think about when she even went to Arachne, when she like was taking her to prison and like she was separating her and the daughter. Like she's been put in a lot of situations where like she is a like you are wrong. Like you are kind of bad.
You're bad, right. And I feel like those end up being... Those were all during that Ms. Marvel series where where people weren't really knowing who Carol was. Carol, in my opinion, is one of those characters that's really, really interesting when the writer doesn't forget all of the history that she's had. When you throw away the history and you just want to write Ms. Marvel or Captain Marvel with her and her abilities, she's gonna come across bad because she's just punching shit. But if you actually recall a lot of the things that she's done, then you wouldn't have her going to the X-Men and doing all that, and
or in Civil War II, trying like you were profiling people in Civil War II. You would
exactly, and kind of what I mean by the setup is they were trying to have her become this premier female character or whatever, where then you end up if you don't know who Carol is and all you know is that she's supposed to be that premier character, then you just end up putting her in those situations where the premier female character should be, not where Carol should be. So in Civil War II, you can't have Iron Man go into it with Captain America again. You did that. So who else are you going to have her fight? I mean, him. I mean, who else are you going to have? Who else are you going to have Iron Man like go up against? It's probably going to have to end up being Carol. So I feel like whoever would have been in that position was going to be bad. Was going to be
because the position that Carol had was like completely awful.
It was bad. Like there's no one in that position.
There was no, but and I feel like, but also I that's one of the things I have against hero versus hero stories in general. It has to become this like super contrived thing where it's like they try and say, oh, we want you to see everybody's point of view, but it's like no, one of those POVs is blatantly wrong. Carol's POV during Civil War II was like blatantly wrong. You were literally profiling people and like
You
sending him
can't.
to
There's no
prison for
good
doing
about
nothing.
that.
Like that's not cool.
And I think that's why I enjoyed the first Civil War, because at least you could see both sides of it, right? Like you could understand both sides of registering and not registering.
And again, that was one of the things I was saying, where I feel like some writers with Carol, they try and say, oh, she's like the soldier who's doing the right decision, but then she's also like the superhero. Like, and that, I think that was an example of them trying to do that, and it just doesn't make sense. She cannot be for these people when she's doing these type of things that she's doing. It's like, which one do you want her to be? Because if she's the soldier making these decisions, okay, cool. Like that's how Monica Rambeau looked at it. You know,
right.
She was on Carol's side in Civil War II, but she's also a cop. So it's like, you know, right. Of course she thinks like this. Like she's cool with that. You know, with Carol, it's like you want her to be this super hero who protects everyone and does all these things, and you tell us this, but it's like she's a cop.
Yeah, I think that for me is where I find the interesting story, and I feel like no one's really tapped into that until Kelly Thompson right now. And I feel like with that X-Men thing, when Carol went over to the X-Men and after the school bus blew up or whatever, that issue came out the exact same day that Iron Man also went to the school and asked them to join in the Civil War story. So how much sense does that? Doesn't make any sense. So you just had Iron Man come to Emma Frost, and she gave him this whole read about how, like, where were the X-Men when our kids were born, right? And rightfully so. Iron Man, in my opinion, during Civil War, of course, would go to the X-Men there. Why would you have Carol do the exact same thing just for you to tell the exact same speech again? Unless you just wanted to have that speech happen. And who else are you going to give that speech against other than Carol? So I feel like she ends up being put in the position as like the punching bag for a lot of this stuff for people who don't get her. So it's let's put Carol here because you can yell at her because for whatever kind of reason. Let's watch Emma read Carol, yay! Even though it was unwarranted. It didn't make any sense. We just had it in the same book on the same day from Iron Man. So how does that even take place? And in her own series, she was in space when that happened. She was in space. She comes back and I think it was Captain America who was like, hey, let's talk about this registration thing. And then all of a sudden in the next book, she's going over to the X-Men and doing all that. I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me.
She's definitely a character of, she's had some bad writing. I mean, I understand my girl has had some terrible writing. Okay. Like, and the day we have the Betsy episode, like, I'm going to let it all be known. Okay. That girl's had some terrible writing. So I understand. I just feel as though,
listen, like I said, I've always jokingly wanted Carol to be like, in the words of Nicki Minaj, is this the thanks that I get for putting you bitches on? Is it my fault that all of you bitches gone? because you know she's made $1 billion with her movie. She's become like the top girl. She's opening doors, y'all. She's trying to get everybody up there.
I mean, it should have been She-Hulk, but
well, that's like, I think that was Wright's things, honestly.
We'll talk. That's also going to be an episode.
I'm sure we'll talk about her.
So it's like I get it.
What are your overall opinions of Carol? Why don't you like her?
I respect what she can do and the purpose she serves. I think, like I said, it's just, I think a lot of what Carol stands for, I guess, not even what she stands for. It's just like I said, I feel like all the stories I've read, she's a punch first and ask questions later character. And I just don't really gel too well with characters like that, because I feel like, and again, you say it's kind of changed around in this current Kelly Thompson run. So, you know, hey, but I feel like all the past stories I've read with her, she continues to just do that time after time after time after time again. And at some point, it's kind of like, all right, when is somebody going to make this character realize what she's doing isn't smart? or when are they going to take her to that next level?
It's now.
And
there's a whole arc of her out in space. It was during the Empire run, which we already talked about Empire, but her tie-ins were good. And you learn while she's an accuser and she gets this hammer, you would expect her to just be swinging that shit everywhere, but she actually like thinks about it all and is methodical about this mystery that she has to solve by herself, and she can't punch her way out of. This is the first time that you kind of see her actually say to herself, damn, I wish I could punch my way out of this, but I can't. So I got to figure it out what else I can do.
Yeah. And then, no, I can see that. And then I also agree with your point that like she would get put into a lot of situations where she didn't really need to be just because of her name. She is like, she is Captain Marvel. So she's got to be in certain things. And so you end up getting these other books with her outside of her like main books where they're just kind of vapid cash grabs that don't really delve in any personality. You're just telling me that like this is the greatest superhero, this is the greatest soldier, everybody should love her, you know, they want her to be the first superhero president, and it's like, why?
I don't even want that.
It's just like, why? Like, what has she done Absolutely that is actually not. So good outside of like just kind of running into the same issue in a different way?
Honestly, I will say I've read all of her runs since she's been Captain Marvel. And Kelly Sue's run was fantastic, probably one of the better ones. And this Kelly Thompson one is great. Pretty much the entire time when her hair was short was like, they were literally just banking on her name. And they would put her anywhere and they would just be, here's
and
Captain
I remember
Marvel.
The short hair era, because that was another time that I was like, because that was when the change happened. It was like, oh, okay, you know, we'll reintroduce Kara. And I was like, all right, let me give this another shot. And that like short hair era was just like, whoa. Just like,
even while she was on Alpha Flight, it was like, it felt like they're just saying, oh, let's do Captain Marvel and Alpha Flight. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, it's Captain Marvel and Alpha Flight. Okay, well, what does that mean? And I feel like that was kind of the thing with her for a while, was after Kelly Sue left the book, no one, they just knew her as Captain Marvel. So they felt like, all right, we got to push this as Captain Marvel. But nobody really knew what that meant. And I think you end up just getting a bunch of stories of people you don't really like.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that being said, I will give you this. I will go back and read the Star arc of Captain Marvel.
Okay. I think you'll like it. It's Captain Marvel issues 8 through 11.
I'm gonna write that down.
Yep. There was you've already read that first arc, and then there was a few War of the Realms tie-ins afterwards, but they were just random. You don't gotta worry about them. But Captain Marvel 8 through 11 is the whole Star arc, and I think you'll like it.
Okay.
All right, y'all. What do y'all think of Captain Marvel? Tweet at us. Tweet at Another Relaunch. Tweet at me personally if you want to talk about it. But let's take a break and then we'll come back for the relaunch.
All right. And we are back for another relaunch. And we didn't actually do another relaunch last week, so it's like we're relaunching the relaunch.
I know, right? Yes. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us last week for the rewatch. That was a lot of fun. Into the Spider-Verse is awesome. But this week we're going back to a relaunch. Now, do you want to go first?
Yeah,
go
I'll go first.
You go first. You go first.
I'll go first. I'll go first only because the character I'm relaunching actually appeared this week.
Oh, okay.
It is Miss Yelena Belova.
Alrighty, all right,
yeah. The Blonde Widow. Okay,
I like that.
So for those of you who do not know, Yelena took on the name of the Black Widow during like the early 2000s. Her first appearance was like some very minor thing in an Inhumans book, Inhumans #5, I want to actually say. And it was just kind of alluding to that there's another Widow. There's someone else like in the shadows or whatever. And so then she ended up appearing a little bit after that in a couple of Black Widow miniseries during the Marvel Knights imprint time. A lot of them were really good. I actually highly recommend. Devin Grayson wrote one. Devin Grayson actually wrote two of them. They're both called Black Widow. Richard K. Morgan wrote one called Black Widow, The Things They Say About Her. And then Yelena actually had her own miniseries by Greg Rucka titled Black Widow, Pale Little Spider. There was honestly no big distinction from the two characters. They had the exact same skill sets, the exact same training from the Red Room, the exact same like gadgets. It was just that Natasha was a redhead and Yelena's blonde. That is all there was to it. And so she was just kind of running around calling herself Black Widow. But during like the Pale Little Spider thing, you kind of get more insight into her. And basically you find out, of course, she was also trained in the Red Room. For those of us who don't know, the Red Room was where Black Widow gained all of her spy training. It's basically a quote unquote boarding school for girls. They would learn things like ballet, martial arts, murder. And there's actually a male version of it. Yeah, the good things. There's actually a male version of it as well. It's called the Wolfgang Spider.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's actually how Bucky like became the Winter Soldier. They are responsible for like reviving him and like brainwashing him and doing all of that stuff and sending him back out into the world. So they both trained there. And so it was basically just that Yelena was like really good in the class and they offered her the opportunity to become Black Widow. And she was just like, yeah, why not? She's kind of like this immoral character. She doesn't really care too much about a lot of things. She's just there to have a good time. It's like, I love that. And she went through like a very weird time. She became a super adaptoid in like an Avengers run. It was like a weird thing, but the Avengers rescued her and then we don't really hear about it anymore. So it's like, I like to keep it that way.
I'll just ignore that. Yeah.
Right. During her time, she like stopped being Black Widow for a little bit and she became like a supermodel. And she started her own like beauty business and she became like a multimillionaire and she was like living out in the Bahamas and the islands. And like she actually ran into Widow again when once again Widow was on the run from people slandering her name out in the streets. And she's helped her out. And so whereas beforehand she was kind of coming in as like the anti-Widow to be her like antagonist, now her appearances have geared more towards being like a chaotic neutral force for Natasha. Like she's someone there to help her. She pops up even again this week in Black Widow, she like pops up at the most random times and she's like, no, I've been here the whole time. I've just been watching. But it's like she doesn't want to hurt Natasha or like go against her anymore. She's like, I just want to help her.
Okay.
And even during Secret Empire when Widow had got killed, there was that little mini series with Hawkeye and Winter Soldier. Yelena was actually running around as Black Widow in that as well. Once again, to like kind of honor Natasha. So that was really well done. It was great. Guys should read that if you're into that. And so basically my thing with Yelena, my relaunch with her is honestly, she's just the Black Widow. Again, like I was saying, I feel like Nat's kind of run into the issue where she keeps getting those same stories over and over again. It's like people are against her. She's on the run. I'd love to put Yelena back into that spy setting, but not really focus on her. It'd be more of a socio-political action thriller type of thing, like having her go out trying to get future despots and dictators, clandestine organizations, people trying to rule the world, send her against the Hydras and the things like that, have her going against rising terror groups and stuff, because we haven't really seen her in that situation. And so we know that she's a very different character from Nat already. So it's like, how is she handling these situations? And so it feels different. It feels new. And of course, you got to give her a little team, kind of make her like a little James Bond almost thing.
Okay.
But you throw some sci-fi elements in there because again, this is superheroes. And she's one of the big things about Yelena is like she's very tech savvy. She uses a lot of, again, because she's rich, so she has a lot more like gadgety and things that she has at her disposal as opposed to Natasha. And so, you know, you kind of put her in this global espionage setting and you give her those gadgets to use, but not making her like super techie like an Iron Man or something. um I would give her two allies.
Oh,
One
okay.
of those, yes, they would be like her little team, because I feel like any solo book that you have to have a good supporting cast with it. It's
Gotcha.
just like you got to have somebody for your characters to play off of. These are both kind of like just random D-list characters who I just think are fun. One is Susie, you know, Susie Endo, Cybermancer. Do you know who that is?
Who the hell is that?
I know. I just don't even know with you sometimes. I don't know what to do. I don't know. I can't.
Who is that?
Susie Endo. She's Cybermancer. She's actually So my biggest introduction to her was during the 2008 Greg Pak series. When he wrote War Machine. Sorry, 2008 War Machine series written by Greg Pak.
Okay.
Susie is like a tech genius, and she has like some cybernetic implants that she was using to help War Machine. And with Yelena, again, since she's going to be using some gadgets, she kind of needs that tech girl to help her do all of those things.
Okay.
So this is weird though. So the last time I think I read something with Susie, she was in a Silver Surfer book, and she had became the herald of the High Evolutionary. So she had the power cosmic.
Okay.
I don't want any of that. I honestly can't tell you if she's appeared since then. I think that was like the last thing I remember seeing about her, and I was like, oh, that seems kind of weird that you like did that to this character. And the other one, the second one is just a shameless plug. It would be Bedlam.
Of course.
You know,
Of course.
Damn, they would just be a fun pairing, I feel like. And you know,
why not?
he's got abilities that really affect machinery and electronics. He can help her out there in that world, disable some cameras, do some stuff, good backup.
Something to
do. That's a team right there, baby.
I'm in.
But you know, I thought it was so funny that I had actually already chosen Yelena to be my relaunch, and then I read Black Widow, and there she was. And I was like, this is great, which is really exciting for me because that makes me think that Kelly has a lot more in store for her.
Yeah, because I don't think this is the last we don't see of her.
Yeah, like this, I don't think this is just like she's in this arc. She's here for a reason. We might get some meat to the story. And of course, you know, they had to bring her back. Florence Pugh is playing her in the Black Widow movie.
Right.
Should it ever decide to be released.
Right.
And honestly, at this point, I don't think I really care for the movie. I don't think I care.
Okay, low key, my like for it is really starting to dwindle. Like, I'm just like whatever at this point.
I truly just want to see the scenes of Florence as Yelena in the movie.
I mean, pretty much. I just want to see her beating ass.
and then like nothing else. I do not. Again, Natasha's dead in the main universe. What does it matter?
I just want to see somebody kicking ass, and then that's it.
You know? But I think Yelena Belova is just, she's a super fun character. Again, if you can go back and read any of those stories with her, those 3 miniseries, the 2 Black Widows, the things they say about her, and Pale Little Spider, that's 4. Please do. You get a really good sense of her character, who she is. You see that she's not really, Nat comes off a little serious sometimes in a lot of her books, and Yelena is very much fun.
Yeah.
And she likes to do a lot more things, and she's a little bit more adventurous than Nat is, where she's more reserved. Yelena's also good, like she has no problems telling people about themselves. I think there's like in the things they say about her, when Natasha runs into Yelena, she's helping her. Yelena's like, you are like old and washed up, and like you should not be doing this right now. She's like, these people are against you. The things you're doing are stupid. Like, what's the problem? Like, and so I love a nice straightforward character like that.
Okay, Yelena.
I keep her Black Widow too. I'd keep her name Black Widow because it's like,
I mean, yeah, that's fine.
What else you gonna do? I don't. Yeah. I know they tried to do like a Red Widow thing at one point in time. I wasn't good with that.
I can keep her Black Widow. It's fine. All right, I like that.
Who's your relaunch of the week?
Okay, so mine is more of a team than a character. So Okay. I had already been kind of like dropping hints at this when I did my Exodus relaunch. Yes. But I would relaunch an Acolytes team, and it would be like an all new Acolytes book.
Okay.
And the team would be Exodus would be the like council, the X-Men council chair. So he's kind of like on the team. Exodus, Polaris.
Of course.
Duh. Because we got to get her out of X Factor. Hellion. Duh.
Yeah.
Nightcrawler.
Okay.
Colossus.
Oh.
Oya. Remember Ivy? Mercury.
I'm like,
and the final character is Amelia Vaught.
Oh wow! Yeah, you got a couple of deep cuts in there.
Oh yeah,
I appreciate this. Yes. Okay.
So that would be my team. I would have I would probably have Polaris leading the missions that they go on and stuff like that. The premise for the book would be that, you know how Sabretooth is currently in like purgatory right now. Yeah. Right. He's in that hole in Krakoa because he was not following the rules, quote unquote. There, in this book, there would be more mutants that were doing that outside of Krakoa, and the Acolytes would be responsible for going out and retrieving them and bringing them back for Krakoan justice. So whereas the X-Men are protectors of mutants, and, you know, bringing everyone in, the Acolytes are defenders of Krakoa and their justice system. So they would bring in the, you know, unruly mutants or whatever.
The bad guys.
The ultimate thing though that I would do is I would have like a few quote unquote villains of the week where they kind of bring them in, like other Sabretooths or something like that. But then I would have it where, you know how people get into either being sent into the hole, or like maybe they end up being killed on the mission and being resurrected. Kind of what we saw in Immortal She-Hulk. Remember when Wolverine kind of like killed that mutant and was like, it's fine.
He's going to be resurrected.
He's going to be resurrected. I would have something like that happen, but they try to resurrect someone and they can't because they thought he was a mutant, but he wasn't. And it turned out that it was like a high evolutionary thing, and that would be the big main villain, because Exodus like hates the high evolutionary. Because
I do remember you saying that
him being he like creates like abominations against mutant kind and stuff. So yeah.
So your villains of the week type of things, would those be mutants that we already know about, or would they just be like something new?
Because I just be people we knew, and like I'd probably mix it up. You know, have some that we knew, some that we didn't.
And would we also
maybe?
Would we also kind of be getting into why those mutants didn't come to Krakoa? Like when
okay. So like when you get there and you see them causing destruction or whatever they're doing, it would be, you kind of find out why they decided not to, and then you kind of get into the psyche of, does everyone have to go to Krakoa? You know,
and which is something I know a lot of people have been asking for.
So I would kind of drive home that like not everybody wants to come to Krakoa, which is fine, but that doesn't mean you can be out here doing all of that. So
because you're still kind of like
representing mutant kind, and
that's an interesting little thing to think about. I like that. I like that team a lot, especially because you know I'm all about Exodus Nightcrawler interaction.
Yes,
so bad. I think like if you were to kind of push Xavier and Magneto out, the two characters who you would kind of put as like heads would be Exodus and Nightcrawler.
Exactly.
I think they are both the just epitome of their ideals, of their idealism, of whatever it might be. And it's like, it's very opposing, and I would love it. And I think, is Exodus a little religious? Does he have some?
Not necessarily, no. I think that it's just they tried to give him some kind of like
that's his iconography.
It looks that way, but he himself is not like.
It would be interesting to see how Nightcrawler reacts to that like type of thing, though. It's like
exactly, like Nightcrawler reacting to like what they would do with these mutants would be interesting.
Yeah, I really like that. You know, I'm all about some new X-Men. So Hellion, Mercury, Oya, love that.
On my team, I would have Hellion kind of wanting to be like Exodus.
Oh, okay.
I've always thought that in the future, Hellion should go by Exodus. Like that should be his new code name after he like grows up.
Oh, you know what code name I liked for him? Was it the one during Age of X where he was Scion?
Yeah, Scion. Yeah, I like that one.
I like that one. That was does he still have hands? Or not have hands?
No, not in, no. I think he still got the robot hands. I want him to heal him.
No, I like the robot hands.
I know. I feel like I'm the only person who likes Hellion, but doesn't like the robot hands. I feel like I liked the growth that he got from them and all of that stuff, but like I'm over it now. Just give him his hands back.
I actually think they should go full Age of X look and give him the whole robot arm thing.
Oh no, absolutely not.
What a visual! Like what a visual!
Absolutely not.
And the things he could do, wow, that's great.
Yeah. No, I thought Colossus on this team would be interesting, kind of shake things up. And
he was once an acolyte and before, so
right?
It's a nice callback.
And you know, he currently feels like he doesn't need to like do anything right now, but I feel like this could be something that motivates him. Right.
Oh, Colossus. And I also like the addition of Vought. I think that's nice.
Yeah.
So would you bring in like Magneto and Xavier to interact with this team?
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay. The roster that I have is pretty much like the team that you focus on or whatever, but like in a similar manner in like kind of like an X Factor, you know, the five are kind of there, but they're not the team that you focus on or whatever.
Okay.
Other people can kind of come in and out of this book too.
Okay. I like that. I'm into that Acolytes book. I would definitely read it. Do you have an ideal like writer or artist for it?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm not sure about writer. Artist, I would love RB Silva.
Okay.
I think that would be dope.
That's a good thing. That's always a good look right there.
Yeah.
This isn't necessary for that team. Do you have like a specific writer who you kind of want to jumpstart Exodus story?
Hickman.
I was literally about to say outside of Hickman.
It's pretty much always been Hickman. Shit, outside of him, I don't even know. I don't know. I have to think about who I would want to have that, because I've been loving all the big like random spurts of him that I've been getting so far from all the different writers and his appearances and everything.
He's been there. He's been around.
Yeah, he's been popping up a lot lately, so I've been enjoying that. So I'm not sure which writer I would want to write this yet, but I know I would want like an RB Silva on art or something like that.
I can appreciate that.
And like Valerio Schiti, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Yeah. I would want him to do the designs, because yes,
those sword designs are nice.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, I'm glad we're getting back to like designs and characters,
right? Yeah,
and, like doing something different. It's like this is what we've been missing, man.
Yeah, but yeah, that's my team of my acolytes: Exodus, Polaris, Hellion, Nightcrawler, Colossus, Oya, Amelia Vought, and Mercury.
I'm into it, especially the Mercury, but I really like Mercury. She's actually one of like my favorite young X-Men girls. Mercury, Dustin, Surge, be a lot of fun on and this. Pixie. So like my top 4. I think she would, and I think she has a lot of. I kind of see her playing the moral compass a little bit.
A little bit. Yeah,
just
her and Oya.
I don't really see for Oya so much. But Mercury, just like when I think about Mercury's appearances, she's always very much been like, I want to do the right thing. Yeah. I'll never even forget when Betsy had her little Psylocke miniseries. Her and Dazzler were like running around, and Betsy was talking about how they were going to like kill one of the villains that was like messing up Utopia. And Mercury was like, no, we're X-Men, we don't kill. And Betsy's like, you ain't been around that long. Give it a few more years. But like at the end of it, like Betsy even goes back and talks to Mercury, and she's like, that like goodness that you have in you, like make sure you keep that. So that's really dope. I can see her being that for them.
So yeah, that's my
like
relaunch. Acolytes.
I love it. All right. Well, those are the relaunches for the week, guys.
Thank you so much for listening. You can find
always.
us on Twitter at Another Relaunch. You can email us at anotherrelaunch@gmail.com. You can find me at Uncanny LZ on most social media platforms. Oh, also, we are on Apple Podcasts now. So please rate and subscribe over there.
Listen, leave a review,
give us comments, all of that. Please do. We love all that stuff. So, Keenan, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Keenan Lance with an underscore at the end, and you can find me on Instagram at $1 Million Madman. I am potentially thinking about making those the same thing. Make it a little bit easier. I'm just trying to figure out. Both of those names are very important for different reasons. We'll see what happens. We'll see.
Thanks. Oh, and next week we are going to do our first reread. And we put some feelers out for some options there. And we are going to do World War Hulk. This will be a lot of fun. I haven't read World War Hulk in, I can't even say World War Hulk in like years. So this will be a lot of fun to reread this and see how I feel about it now.
World War Hulk, you guys.
Yeah.
You have a week to read, so you can join in with us as we discuss
and talk about it,
revisit, and continue celebrating today because we have elected a new president.
Yes, and got rid of a fascist.
Okay.
All right, y'all. Thanks so much. We'll catch y'all next week.
Peace out.
Bye.